Men's Movement with our host, Dr. Jack Rocco. All right, Dr. Jack, we're getting close to the new year, but you were out before our call in the green room taking care of something, right?
Yeah, the green room. Yeah, at the Rocco studio here in New York, New York. No, we got hit with a snowstorm last night, a good deal of it. And I'm surprised you don't have it up there on the lake. Typically that area, growing up in Erie.
Nothing at all.
That's a huge, but anyways, my first message, so I was out there shoveling snow and I'm knocking on the door of 60 pretty soon. And I thought this would be a great subject to talk about because snow shoveling is actually a big source or a precondition sometimes for a heart attack. And the typical story, and it also, the history of heart attacks and men's health is interesting to me. It's a little source of my sarcastic humor regarding men and where people put them in ranks. But yeah, usually it was always the story that Monday morning, guys out shoveling their snow, that's when they get this crushing chest pain while shoveling snow, trying to get to work, and it'd be a heart attack. And Monday morning, probably because of the weekend, any number of things, they might have been out drinking, eating differently, not taking their meds, dehydrated, who knows why. But Monday morning, that was always the story. It was a higher risk, higher rate of heart attacks in men shoveling snow. But then about maybe, 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, probably closer to 15, you've heard about this Go Red Day, like November or February is like National Heart Month. And it comes off a lot of women will wear red. And the advertising message is that the number one killer of women in this country is heart attacks. And when I first heard that, I'm like, it's the number one killer of everyone, isn't it? And you look it up, and heart attacks are the number one cause of death in everyone. But at some point, whether it was American Heart Association, someone decided to remarket this as the number one killer in women, basically excluding men from this cohort. Which, if men had advertised that heart attacks are the number one killer of men and excluded women from this sample, the whole world would have been in uproar. And right. My sarcastic humor, I'm like, really? The women have now stolen our month? They've stolen our disease? That was the only thing we had to look forward to, was dying at 60 by shoveling snow on a Monday morning, clutching your chest. And now the women have taken that from us as well. But heart attacks are the number one killer of everyone, men and women, and snow shoveling is a big source of it. And I found that out today. It's been years since I've shoveled a driveway, and this is relatively light snow, but I'd driven over it one time, so it was packed down where the tire marks were. And I was struggling with those cheap plastic shovels they make nowadays. And about halfway through, I'm like feeling a little winded, and I'm like, you know what? I don't need to push the envelope in here. I'm going to go take a break, have a glass of water, and come back and finish this. So that's your public service announcement. Be careful with the snow shoveling. Make sure you give yourself plenty of time to do it when you're out there. Stay hydrated, take breaks if you need, or hire a kid would be ideal, but I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Or get someone who can do snow blowing. Like there's some companies out there.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to hire someone like that, but guess what? We've not had any bad snow yet. So
that surprises me over there being so close to the lake. Yeah.
I'm sure we're only 2 minutes from the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically that's the snow belt zone right there.
Exactly.
The world.
I'll take it. I'll take one win, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're not getting the win from Cleveland. That's for sure.
No, wouldn't that be sad? But see, Tomlin in Cleveland, he always has a hiccup. He has a good chance to run 10-6, right? Easy. It's a guarantee. With a guarantee with Tomlin and Shedeur, and they played pretty well last week. I'm not telling, wouldn't that be a shame? They go to Cleveland and lose to Cleveland.
Yeah. Growing up in Erie, we're pretty much equidistant from Buffalo, Cleveland, and Pittsburgh. We're right in the middle of the triangle. And my cousins, my father, uncles, they were all big Browns fans. And I think I liked them when I was younger, but then the Dolphins, they were a new team and They were winning. So I jumped on the Dolphins bandwagon. But then lately, I say the Dolphins left me. And being so close to Pittsburgh when I was practicing in Altoona, I jumped on the Steeler bandwagon. I had dinner one time with Ben Roethlisberger, his uncle, and his father.
Wow.
We won 4 tickets to a sportsman's restaurant, like a sportsman's club that had a restaurant. And we get there, we called another couple, so the 4 of us went there. We show up and the owners, we hope you don't mind, but everybody who's staying at the resort, they all eat together. And we're like, no, that's fine, like family style. And he goes, okay, are you guys Steelers fans? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you're going to be sitting with Ben Roethlisberger, his father, and his uncle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he was a complete gentleman, just very laid back, very cool. He walks in, no kidding, it's Ben Roethlisberger. But he comes in, he's like, hi, I'm Ben. Oh, hi, Ben. You look familiar. Where do I know you from? Very casual. We had great conversations. It was nice.
Yeah, he definitely matured the older he got. And he does a lot of great things for the Steelers.
Don't we all? Just imagine. You give a 20-something millions of dollars, and then you put him out there in the public where he's around alcohol and women and other evils of the world, and he's going to have an event or two. I don't hold that against him. Everyone, those things either grow you or kill you. And fortunately, he grew through them.
Exactly. All right. Okay. So you had a pretty good topic today you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. It's the end of the year. And like most places, they usually do that year in review of our show, of our year, reevaluate the past year. And I think it's been huge. I think we spent about the last 6 months or so when we started the podcast.
Yeah.
I think it was around June or so.
Yeah,
May
totally.
That I started going to the clinic more full time. And I said, looking back over 6 months, we made a lot of progress, made a lot of contacts, a lot of growth. Our show, The Ultimate Men's Movement, we've had some fantastic guests, some fantastic topics, a great response. I think our YouTube views and likes is doing reasonably well, but made a lot of progress. So I wanted to talk about, in general, like end of the year, we are a men's clinic, and these things come up almost on a daily basis with me, both in the clinic and life. Just some of the struggles that men have. What are the struggles? Why do we need a men's clinic? Why do we, once again, we're not trying to be exclusionary, but we're trying to provide a service that I think your typical healthcare practice may not encourage or may not provide. And I think first and foremost, a lot of men they don't take the time to go to a doctor. They feel, I got stuff to do, I'm busy, and their health is always on the back burner. And we've talked about that topic before as well. But the men's clinic does open up a number of things that are different. I just did a telephone consult yesterday. We had the patient fill out all his paperwork at home, and then he called in and we did a patient encounter on the phone. And he was a former cop. He said he hit all the big points just with the first 5 minutes of our conversation. He's an educated guy. Was very expressive in his situation. I think he said he was like 56, and he said he recently retired from the police department, and he was going through the last couple of years. He was going through an identity crisis, if you will. That retiring, what's my purpose? What do I do? How do I spend my time? And that's where the little demons start creeping into your brain and depression sets in. And he said he was on testosterone in the past, and something happened to the physicians he was dealing with, and they're no longer available. So he's looking for someone new. He heard us on the radio. We've had some slots on the radio. And he said, I just want to get my energy back. And he had his level checked. I think he was 306, he said, his testosterone level. And he's been on it before, so he's educated and asked all the right questions. He doesn't have any other medical issues, but he's noticing his stamina is diminished. He's noticed his mental health. He doesn't have he's going through a transition in life. And we talked about that this year with Neil Smith. We talked about transitioning out of the NHL or out of a career or family situation for divorced guys. So he's got the mental health things. He's got the sexual dysfunction. I just want to be able to perform a little better for my wife. We've had a good life and we've had a good sex life. So I want to get that. And he had some valid questions. So he's getting signed on for for a membership or a subscription for testosterone. And he's also interested in the P wave. So he's the perfect candidate. Mid-50s, relatively healthy, no other issues. But if someone like that starts drifting into depression or boredom or what have you, alcohol, substance abuse, all sorts of things he's at risk for. Whereas a little testosterone to just optimize and normalize his testosterone level may save him a lot of other problems. Save him prescription of Prozac or whatever, may get his health better, may get his belly fat down,
Right.
which is another source of the heart attacks in your 50s, shoveling snow. If you've got the additional visceral fat, we've talked about that before. All those more muscle mass. So if he has a fall, if he has an issue, he can defend himself. He can get up from the ground if he falls, not stuck there just lamenting. So that was just that visit yesterday encompassed a lot of the issues that we talked about with men. And the other one is that we get it. Like as soon as he started talking, and he didn't have to go long, most guys try to justify why they are where they are in the world. And he's saying, I just retired. I was a cop for 30 years, whatever his story is. But as soon as he started talking, I said, man, I get it. I'm in the same boat. I'm in my 50s, soon to be 60. And we can sympathize with all those issues, which I think men need. How's your testosterone going? You're still...
Yes, you said the level is unbelievable, through the roof, and everything's going great. I'm looking at particularly more exercising in 2026. I've been doing the yoga a little bit, but I want to step that up. I'm going to step up some of the intermittent fasting. I've been doing that a while, and it's working really well again. But I also want just to get a little bit rid of more of the belly fat, so I focus on that, because I don't know if I need as much size or not as much size. I got a potential phone call to maybe be part of a wrestling event that's not pro wrestling, but acting as a pro wrestler. So I probably want to stay at about this size right now until I see what happens, but then would like to get down to about 270 and ripped. So I'm in that focus attention and looking at, okay, what do I need to do differently? I'm scaling the business again. So more opportunity to take that self-care time to work out more and to look at ultimately the dieting and why, and what's better. But everything's going fantastic. The laser focus, it's just part of the biohacking fact. You can have testosterone. Go ahead.
I think I sent you an article on fasting or a meme of some. I think I sent you some that supported all those things that we've been saying, as far as we didn't evolve over millions of years to eat 3 meals a day.
I know. This is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I'm doing a 16-hour, and I'm very strict towards it. I'm now dieting better on that, and I lost a couple pounds. That then the holidays came. So I know in 2026, I'm not going to be tempted like this. This is the temptation of Temptation Island, right? But then next year, I'll be ready and focused.
Yeah. For me, I would have never in my younger years, I had very few nutrition classes, but I went to medical school. You would think I would understand something about human physiology, but nutrition and dieting is really not something that you cover. And fasting was never something that anyone talked about. It just invades our culture. You got to eat 3 meals a day and snacks in between. That rumor was started by the food companies, who also bought out. They were the tobacco companies that bought out the food industry. R.J. Reynolds, But I did the same thing. I went home to Erie, and I did the same thing both after Thanksgiving and after Christmas. You go there with my family, and it's just Italians. Manja, you got to eat.
Right.
Oh, did you try this? Did you try? Oh, you don't like my salad? Oh, but you don't like my lemon bars? You got to try the lemon bars. So you get sucked into all this. And even after, because we do 2 big family meals. We do the 7 fishes dinner on Christmas Eve. And then we have a big pasta, ravioli, manicotti, more a traditional Italian on Christmas Day. So even after the first day, I'm going to sleep and my reflux is just killing me. Just eating stuff I'm not used to eating and eating late, having splitting a bottle of wine and the whole 9. And then the same thing, Christmas, I finished my Christmas dinner. I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm on a fast.
Right.
And I just didn't eat for a good 36 hours.
Wow. You did a 36-hour fast.
I didn't eat at all yesterday.
That's impressive.
Let's figure it out. I finished dinner probably about 1:30, 2 o'clock on Christmas Day, which was Thursday. I didn't eat at all yesterday, and I had breakfast this morning, like 12 hours more or less on Thursday. I didn't eat on Friday, and then till the morning, maybe almost 48 hours.
Wow.
If I had a couple more, but I had breakfast this morning, and it was fine. My reflux now is, I slept well last night, and my weight is stable. There's a win right there. It took 1 day of fasting. I didn't really, once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. But I don't consider myself an insulin addict.
And it's easier to fast on the weekends than it is in the weekdays because busy stressors come, you're like, I gotta eat because it just went through this stressful call or certain thing. But during the weekend, you can just relax, watch TV. There's no stressors. Okay, I'm not hungry. No big deal. And you already notice part of the intermittent fasting, what I've gone back last couple weeks, is I eat less. So at one point, it's all going to happen, and I know it will. But you got to set goals for yourself. The scale is an important thing still. When you agree, Dr. Jack, still the scale.
Yeah, I think the scale, you can argue about what is a healthy weight, but your weight is a good baseline. And I can usually judge where I start to feel bad if my weight creeps up. During my marriage, I was at the highest I'd ever been. When you got young kids and you have to eat 3 meals a day, and dad's got to sample the gravy fries or cheese fries that their kids got, that you end up eating some of your kids' food because they don't finish it. So I way overate during that period of my life. But now I'm back into a normal routine, and I think it's been good. The other issue that I wanted to talk about that I think is very prevalent in men is this concept, and I've had this discussion with a number of people, this idea of toxic masculinity, that men somehow have this privilege in the world. And I'll agree, you can always say most CEOs are men. That's a stat that you can prove. But the point is that most men are not CEOs. The vast majority of men are your standard worker bee. They're the guys who get up, they're laborers, they're the guys who put the power lines up, that work in the sewers, in the water treatment plants. They're out today. They're out today during the snow, they were plowing, they're collecting trash. 90 to 95% of all those occupations are from men. And my argument that I've had, that I'm all for equal rights with women. And we got into this conversation with Cheyenne. She talked about spousal abuse and those kinds of things. And she even agreed that a lot of the feminist movement, there's a wing of the feminist movement that is not necessarily pro-female, but anti-male. And I think a lot of guys feel that. But what I say to my strongly feminist friends and colleagues is that, 1%, those CEOs, that population may be in those leadership roles, but the 99 other guys out there are just as subservient to these top people. My father, he worked his whole life. You've worked your whole life. I've worked my whole life. I'm a physician, and which means nothing in the hierarchy. I'm below how many administrators, how many insurance companies, how many CEOs am I subservient to? I don't get any special treatment because I'm a male. Do you get any special treatment because you're a 6'10" former wrestler? And you're the
I would say there's strange ones, people stealing my identity, meaning that I get a lot of people making up accounts for me because I am a public figure in some sort of aspects, and it's interesting. But no, I get
to pay less taxes. Do you have?
No, I have the right people. I know. I know I don't get to cut lines, but I do. I am, based on having this show, I have parental treatments down the line to help me that other people don't.
What I'm saying is, but strictly from being a man.
The
assumption that I'm just saying, like the assumption that
it's definitely not a male.
Special treatment that women.
No, we get less treatment sometimes. Who knows?
And I was thinking, I've had people complain about this. They're like, and I've been taking. You remember Rick Yee, right? We had him on Warriors Way Mindset. So I joined a group of his. And I've been very, very pleased with it. Very pleased, but also saddened by the number of guys that are out there that are literally, and these are the guys he deals with, literally calling him at 2, 3 in the morning, with a gun on the table
Oh my God.
and a bottle of Jack Daniels. These guys are calling him in crisis. And we have our meetings. There's a group of 4 guys, and we meet every Sunday for 2 hours. We have reading before, but he's also invited us to a number of his other. So I would encourage, he doesn't pay sponsor fees or anything for us, but he's got a very nice system that breaks down and has you think of a number of things in your personality. What are your strong points? What are your weak points? And men share in a lot of these things. And one of the things that a lot of the men will say is that my wife thinks I go to work all day and then I come home and I haven't done anything because she's home and she's had 13, 22, however many things to do on that day. And it's the sense that, okay, now that you're home, we need to cut the grass, you need to do the dishes, you need to this co-running the household. I have no problems with that. But there's a lot of guys that are still women that are stay-at-home moms or whatnot. And men still get this, all you did was go to work. But I was here taking care of the kids and doing all those things. But they're equally stressful. It's got to be a equal yoking on the roles. But men take the hit for, you didn't do anything. You just went to work and got your male privilege by doing that. So a lot of these men suffer from that. And they're going through divorce. They're going through separations. They're struggling with their kids' relationships. And he does a crisis meeting on Zoom. I think it was on Wednesday nights. And he invited me to join in. There were 50 guys on this call. That's a huge number of guys. And he's got quite a following, but it really just puts an exclamation mark on those statements we make about men struggling mentally. I said, when you talk to these guys, for me, it gives me an opportunity to think about what parts of my life do I have control of that I can work on. And he breaks down your personality or your strengths into like 4 walls. You've got a body side, you've got a mind side, you've got a heart side, and you've got a spirit side. And what he finds, a lot of guys, they suppress their heart side, because no one wants to hear about it. No one really cares about your feelings. Just do the work. No one asks for your opinion. You're here to shovel the snow. I don't need you to think about it or give me feelings about it. And men it's not welcomed. If you go home and you tell your spouse or significant other or whoever in your family, they ask you, how are you doing? What's the answer? Oh, I'm fine. Things are great. It's often a lie. Men struggle just as much as not more. 4 out of 5 suicides in this country are men. Women will attempt suicide much more frequently, but they're often the stereotypical cry for help. They'll take some pills that has a low risk. Like I said, a lot of the guys that Rick is seeing, and that he's very hands-on with his members, with the colleagues and people that sign into his network. But I had 3 guys this last weekend that are, like I said, sitting at that table. And I'm not saying it's always a gun and a bottle of Jack Daniels, but thank God those guys call him. Thank God those guys have that resource to reach out to. And thank God that Rick is a guy who, his heart is in it 100%. But when he talked about that, and he says that about me. We'll get into my personal psychology. That he goes, Jack, you suppress your heart side. And I've gotten into the whole, there's Jack and there's Dr. Rocco. And those 2 people never mix in between. And unfortunately, Dr. Rocco is probably the one who's dominated the vast majority of my adult life. Hey, I don't got time to feel about this. I got to get this done. I got to get that done. I got to get this done. I've got 32 things to do and 6 hours to do them in. So men will do that a lot. Men tend to have a strong a strong mind side and a strong body side. Guys that'll work on their physique, work on their body, their strength. These are guys going to the gym. And guys who are strong mind side. They'll think their way through a problem, whatever. Guys with a heart side are rare. And I wanted to talk about this because I thought this was, over the weekend, I watched Dave Chappelle's Netflix documentary. Right. And I wrote it down. Like, he starts off the show with a quote from his mother. All right. And he starts to show off and he said, my mother always told me growing up, he goes, I wasn't a strong kid. I was shy. I was sensitive. I didn't like to fight. I wasn't really a strong kid. And he said, he goes, my mother told me this for years. He goes, sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. And I think that is true for men. Men are surprisingly much more sensitive than most people will admit to. And I think this plays out even with infants.
Yeah.
And when having a son and a daughter, studies on infant startle reflexes. You make a clap or a loud noise, the reaction that the boys give, the infant boys, is always much more exaggerated than the females. Not always, but statistically higher. And I saw that with my son. He would do something, he would jump. Whereas my daughter would be oblivious to a bear in our backyard and run right through it. And it's like, boys, I think it's how we evolved. If you go into the hunter-gatherer things, like a man's got to be sneaky, got to keep his head on a swivel, has got to be able to discern changes in the environment for both danger and for survival. So I think that, that men are really a lot more sensitive than you would expect, but they cover it up. They bury it underneath this external facade of I'm smart or I'm strong. The spirit side is also probably weaker in men, but I think they tend to have a spirit side that is principle-based, that I'm honest, I'm hardworking. So that's their spirit. It doesn't necessarily come from, but it's also purpose, my purpose. Okay. So spirit is also often used in men, but typically, like I said, it's either mind or body. And the heart side, the feeling side, how do you feel about this, often gets suppressed. And what Rick says is that, so you work hard. He goes, Jack, you've worked hard your whole life. You've achieved all these things. But have you ever taken time to celebrate those things? Not really. You move on. You got other things to do. And he goes, that's the problem. He goes, you continue to just achieve, but you never really feel what it is that you did. You just go on to the next thing with more effort, with more thinking, with more strategizing. But anyways, I think that's something I've really enjoyed, his lectures and the reading material that we get from that. And it's given me a much deeper understanding of men and where they come from. And I see a lot of the same things in my son. He's always done well with wrestling. He wins a tournament and no big deal. The last 2 weeks, he won his weight class, last 2 weekends in a row. And he was also voted most outstanding wrestler of both tournaments. So he's really just killing it, but he doesn't enjoy it. Not that he doesn't enjoy it, he enjoys doing it, but he never rests on his laurels. He's always, even last year, he had a disappointment at the state championship. He finished second in the tournament. And instead of celebrating come on, bud, let's go out to dinner. You finished second. You should be proud. He was undefeated all season. Right. And his only loss was in the finals at states. Clearly a disappointment, but I'm still hugely proud of him. It's still a tremendous achievement. Guess what he did after the state wrestling tournament? After wrestling 2 days in the tournament, after his loss, he went back to the gym that night to run through some things that he did wrong. And I tried to pull him away from it, but his coach, and it's just, they get into this mindset, and it was disappointing. But hey, I could see myself doing the same thing. That's a sin that I've committed, and I'm sure you could stay the same. You put those extra hours in the gym, those extra time. So men suffer with that like never being able to truly, people may look at you and say you're successful and this and that, but you still see that fragile child. But I like that quote from Chappelle. You have to, in order to be a man, that means pretending that you're a lion. There are scary things out there in the world. There are things that you need to just focus on and get the job done. How you feel about it is less important. You still need to be aware of it. That's what Rick has brought out in me, that there are a lot of things I need to celebrate in life. What about you, Neil? You got any stories about that, like with your wrestling career?
I think the person that was in professional wrestling and then even afterwards was not the person I would react so fast with anger. Now I know how to calm that. I'm still tough, but I'm not tough in the way that's going to intimidate people to be scared of me. Based on being 6'10", how I react differently, how I do respond, do not roll over and play dead. However, I give an explanation and always create a solution next time. There's no need to go crazy on somebody. That's nothing. That's not going to do anything to your health or the next person's health. Let's figure out a solution to a problem versus let's go and attack and complain about everything. And sometimes we always are in attack mode and fix it mode versus solution mode. And the more we can be in solution mode, the more we can accomplish more things in life.
Yeah. And even when we had to go back into the year in review, when we had Connor Howe on, he was the male adoptee who talked about his experience. He said the same thing. Like a lot of male adoptees will lash out in anger, will lash out in aggressive ways, because those are the things that is more acceptable for men. You see, and it's true for all of us. It's in our genes. It's in the air we breathe. You see a boy getting mad, and oh, he's a troublemaker. And then you see a boy crying at wrestling practice, baseball practice or something, and you're like, he's a wuss.
Right.
Now, there's a very fine line of perfection for this quote unquote optimal male. There is no optimal male, but there are ways to approximate that, what's valuable in your life as a male. And it's different for females. There's a lot of different cultural things. A woman comes home, she's crying, she's upset. Oh, hon, come here, give me a hug. I'll make it better. What happened? Tell me the story. Whereas I'd come home after who knows what, 13 consults, 13 surgeries, consults in the ER, and complaints from patients and sad stories and tumors that are diagnosed, like horrible things. And you're like, how was your day? I'm like, yeah, it was fine. Routine.
Because a certain way of how we deal with problems compared to how women deal with problems. And then also some women are different. Everyone's different. That's the big point.
But there like I said, you're right. Everyone's different. But like I said, in society, there are things that are acceptable for men, acceptable for female, and unacceptable as well.
Great. And it depends in what area and what environment you're in, man.
And it's ultimately awareness, it's self-awareness, it's situational awareness. And that's why I think these classes or these courses, these groups are valuable for me for just taking time. It's almost like church.
It's important.
Almost like church. It's almost like church for me. Let's just sit down and think about what you did this week that was good, what you did this week that was bad. How can you improve? How can you get rid of your bad behaviors? So I do think that men need men, Rick said, and we need to think of those things.
This is great stuff today, Dr. Jack. Have a happy new year and go to the ultimatemensclinic.com and schedule a call with Dr. Jack and his team today. Appreciate it, Dr. Jack.
Thank you, Neil. Again. Happy New Year,
All right.
Christmas and all that.
All right. That's a special simulcast Neil Haley Show in the Ultimate Men's Movement, guys. Take care.